There is a new destination online for baseball fans. Rob Parker of FS1's covered baseball for the better part of 3 decades. And according to his Twitter account, happy to announce my new website at MLB Bro. It will debut in a month. It'll cover African-American players' journeys, culture, and a variety of topics that until this point have not had a clearinghouse online. And Rob joins us on the program to discuss. Hey, Rob, good morning. Tell us, this is a pretty cool adventure that you're undertaking here. How long does it take somebody, soup to nuts, to come up with an idea and then launch it online, as you will be soon?
Well, first, Matt and Harold, thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it. You know I love baseball. I watch you guys. But baseball is my passion. Anybody who knows me for years, people have seen me on TV yelling at Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp and Stephen A. and all these people about the NBA and about the NFL. But baseball is my number one, always has been. And this is just a labor of love. I think we've lost our way a little bit. And, you know, we're not like in competition with MLB.com. They cover the league in a great way. I look at us as like a side piece. We're going to be like a window so that baseball fans, especially black baseball fans, will get to know who the players are, know a little bit more about them. It won't just be about exit velocity and, you know, and all the other analytics and all the other numbers. It's going to be on a personal level. So I'm excited about this. MLB Bro, I've been thinking about it for over a year, and April 1st, we debut.
You know, Rob, this is amazing. You know, when I was growing up, and we're close to the same age, Ebony and Jet used to post all the black players in the big leagues in the magazines. Remember that? And you'd go through and go, oh, the Giants have this guy, oh, the A's have this guy. And it gave you a chance to follow the black players. And that doesn't happen in today's society as much, and the numbers have dwindled so much. So I think it's kind of cool seeing the Players Alliance come on and all the different things. But is this kind of it's a long, drawn-out question I'm bringing up here, but I'm going to go back to my point with the Ebony and Jet, a way of putting this into people's minds and let them know, here's who these guys are, in a sense.
Absolutely. That's the goal, Harold. And let's not, you know, I think we've lost our way somewhere. Baseball is huge in the black community. It's always been a part of our fabric. When you talk about Jackie Robinson and all the great players who people grew up wanting to be, and somewhere along the way, we've gotten into this thing where, you know, great athletes have been steered away from baseball. You know, AAU coaches have told basketball guys, you can only play basketball or only play football. And so baseball kind of got pushed to the side. And there's a renewed feeling for African Americans. I watched the College World Series. Michigan had 8 black players on its roster. So we're starting to see what MLB has done with the RBI program, people coming up through the ranks. There's a lot of star black players on the way, and we have some already in the big leagues like Mookie Betts and people like that. So, yeah. This is not about excluding anybody. It's about celebrating the black athlete. And that's what it's about. So I want people to understand that we're here to celebrate the guys who are there and the guys who are coming up.
Yeah, Rob, give us a sense for what's going to be on MLBBro.com. Is it contributors? Are you going to focus on current contemporary players? Is there a historical component? Read into the website for us.
Very good. It does have all those things. I have a great staff. J.R. Gamble is going to be my managing editor. He's covered baseball for 25 years. Mark Gray's another guy in the D.C. area, great broadcaster. He's going to be a part of it. And, yes, we will have things like facts, where we'll have video pieces that'll tell the young people that Dusty Baker was the first guy to do a high five, you know, and give them a historical point that baseball has swag and people who have made an impact in sports. We'll have modern day players. We have another segment called A Bro You Need to Know. That'll look back at players like a Harold Reynolds or an Eric Davis or Darryl Strawberry, you know, guys like that, to say these are guys who played before, you know, where they were from. And then, of course, we have a video highlight called Homeboy Highlights, where we take the best player from the weekend and give him a shout out for playing well. And that's called Homeboy. That's with an I, Homeboy Highlights.
Rod, it's in the wheelhouse of the conversation with the Players Alliance. I was speaking with those folks a number of times, and a lot of these ideas, I will be connecting you with them, by the way. I did finish that conversation. One of the things that you and I discussed, though, this is not just the contemporaries that you have now, but this is bringing the next generation of writers along as well. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Absolutely. I've been a mentor my whole career. I've been doing this for 35 years. And as a BBWAA member, there's only less than 20 black writers who vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame. And as I get older and these guys get older, those numbers are going to dwindle down. So we need to bring up the next generation of young black men and women who want to cover baseball. So I want to use this as well as an outlet for them to learn how to cover the game. And then when I've retired or moved on or whatever, there'll be these other voices out there. So it's an educational part of it as well, something I'm looking forward to. They're out there. We're going to find these kids who want in college, who want to cover Major League Baseball, want to have a Hall of Fame vote. It's my most prized possession, my Hall of Fame vote. So I'm hopeful that we can replenish the BBWAA with some black members as well.
Hey, we're going to get to your Hall of Fame vote in a second. Matt wants to ask you about that. But one more thing before we get there. I want to know how you got started. There's not a lot of black writers, as you well documented there. How did you get started in having baseball be your number one?
Well, I grew up in Jamaica, Queens, in New York, and I used to go to Shea Stadium, and Ed Kranepool was my favorite player because the only time Ed Kranepool got a pinch hit was the only time the Mets won back in those days. So I had an affinity for Ed Kranepool. And my dream really, Harold, was to play first base for the Mets. And my backup plan was to be a sports writer. And that's really how I developed into the idea of it. And a real quick story, when I was in high school, I wanted to start an all-sports newspaper. My principal said we couldn't do it. We didn't have the money to print the paper. He said the kids were only going to throw it on the ground. And I went home and I wrote 3 letters to the publishers of the New York papers. And one publisher sent me a check to start that newspaper. He sent me a check for $50. And you want to know who that was? You ready?
I want to hear this.
Rupert Murdoch, who's the publisher of the New York Post, sent me a check when I was 16 years old to start an all-sports newspaper called Sportsline. And after that, I got the bug, and now I work for Rupert Murdoch.
That's amazing. And now imagine that, and then Lupica and the rest of the guys in New York ripped off Rob's stuff and started the National. Remember the
That's
National?
right.
Yeah.
Mine was back in 1980. The National didn't come out till the 90s.
Doggone it. And by the way, another Mets guy we're surrounded by. Don't say that again, Rob, because all guys will be calling you for the next 3 weeks asking to come on every show on the network. More Mets apologists. Hey, I do want to hit you on your Hall of Fame ballot this year. You talked about how you've been doing this a long time. This is an interesting group that you voted for. You got Bonds and Clemens, Sheffield and Sosa, a group of 4. Talk about your ballot.
I have magic numbers for my Hall of Fame. First of all, I believe in this. If we have to debate you as a Hall of Famer, you're not a Hall of Famer. When you say Hank Aaron, when you say Willie Mays, Tom Seaver, there's no debate about those guys. That's what I think a Hall of Famer is. So when I have magic numbers, if you have 500 home runs, 3,000 hits, or 300 wins, you automatically get my vote. All 4 of those guys have those magic numbers in home runs. And people say, well, what about the steroids and the steroid era? If you can show me results from everybody who played in that era, and if you tell me those 4 guys are the only guys who use steroids, then maybe I could buy into it. That's not my job. The records count, the home runs count, the numbers count. And if we're starting to say we're going to punish them, then let's punish the teams that won championships during that era with those players. Let's not put in the managers who benefited from those players during that time. I think it's unfair. My job is to vote for the best players I saw, and those 4 guys all meet my criteria.
All right, it's MLB Bros. And what was the one about homeboys? What was that
MLB
again?
Bro.
MLBBro.com, and it's Homeboy Highlights, Homeboy with the I at the end.
I love it.
Love
Hey,
it, love
Rob,
it, love it.
really good having you on the program, man. And I fight on. Go teach those classes at USC. Teach those young minds how to go right. There we go.
I love it. I love teaching at USC. It's a great school, as you know, Matt.
And we'll be looking for MLBBro.com when it debuts on April 1. Rob Parker joining us on the Wednesday Stove. Rob, thanks, man.
Thank you, Rob.